Why was Caesar, Julius Caesar, one of the most famous men in history, was he so brutally stabbed, which ended his stellar career? It's actually quite simple. The answer to that is actually far less complex than what most historians may think. But before we get to that, so Caesar was an extremely good-looking, apparently, man. He was a charmer, he was extremely witty, he was apparently incorruptible, and he didn't drink wine, he didn't overeat, he was successful against the Gauls, and all of those things made him untrustworthy to the rest of the politics, or most of the rest of the politics in Rome. Rome's very much about factionalism, very either one side or the other, very much so. And there's like it is now in politics in America, apparently you are either one side or the other, and there's maybe a couple of people, intermediaries, who can't quite make their mind up, who maybe have a more philosophical view on how it ought to be. But this great division that happens in all sorts of arrangements when you get a group of men, usually sitting in a forum or a parliament, and they're divided along, mostly it's financial lines. What benefits them financially, because if they get voted in, of course, into power, they benefit financially, and then they're involved with other financial powers which enriches that faction or benefits some way by passing laws that actually then benefit the corporate system they're involved with. And the Romans had very much a similar corporate system in a way than that we have today. But what was it? He was highly intelligent. He was multilingual. He could read. He apparently could read Greek, and he was cultured. He was travelled. He was welcomed wherever he go when he was a younger man. And why was it then? And yes, he wanted to become a dictator, or said he was going to be a dictator over Rome. Actually, he was extremely popular amongst the people because of the reforms he wanted to bring in. And whether we see that, how we see that ourselves, is maybe different to those who are threatened by the takeover of power by someone who cannot be corrupted by that power. This is a problem within all governments. If people are not corrupted by power and wealth, and they can run a country altruistically from a philosophical perspective, then there'll be a more rounded view on how things like the economy, travels, how people are treated in generally, rather than just cater to one faction or another. So a single man like Caesar may have been more impartial, in other words, to how Rome ought to be run. Now, excuse me, so why was he stabbed? Well, there's something, we have to read a lot of history. I've read an awful lot of history, continuously. History is the most entertaining thing in the world to read. And people think, oh, it's dry and boring, don't read history, it's about kings and queens and dates. No, it's not, it's exciting. It's like watching them great movies, Troy or whatever you want to watch, but actually reading my great novelists, like Colin McCulloch's, one of my favourite novelists, a famous Australian novelist. She's a wonderful writer and very entertaining. And her books allude to a different aspect of Caesar, which may help give us understanding or clarity of why he was stabbed. So Caesar went about seducing, apparently, many wives of many other senators to sort of get up their nose. So in the end, I mean, of course, he did it were they women were willing, whatever, and we're not going to go into why and all that. But he did seduce apparently a lot of other senators' wives, and they found him extremely attractive because he was extremely good-looking, virile, clean-looking man, and that, in his imperialism and his mostly incorruptible nature, would have really upset the rest of politics, who don't mind taking bribes or don't mind involved in insider dealings or whatever. So, in the end, though, is that what did they stab him because he wanted to be the king of Rome, and as I said, destroy the republic, or did they stab him because he seduced so many wives? And I think when it all gets down to it, that is why they stabbed him, because that would have annoyed all those men more than anything else, which is just purely politics. Purely politics, one thing, but seducing other people's wives becomes personal. And when you've seduced enough wives, you've kind of made a lot of enemies that I want to get you back. And therefore, Caesar was stabbed, in my humble opinion, because of that male ego and that natural caring passion and jealousy towards protecting your wife, being cuckolded, or whatever it is, what causes men then want to attack someone like Caesar and stab him for all the stabbing he'd had done himself.